What's up, guys? Welcome to a very special They're Whacking the Weeds Right Outside of My Window episode of SJU. My God, they're getting closer. We got some cool stuff to talk about today, and I'm going to talk about it loudly so you can hear me over the sounds of lawn beautification. Jonathan Majors is joining Ant-Man 3. We think he's Kang, so we're going to speculate very wildly about the future of the MCU. If we're lucky, I might even ask these guys to come join me because they're almost inside my apartment. I'm so nervous. Plus, we're going to speculate wildly about Flashpoint, because why not? And then, stick around, because at the end of the show, we're going to answer your questions from the chat. Let's do this, man. I got an Eric Goldman with me. I got a Spencer J. Gilbert with me.
Hey,
boys?
Good. It sounds to me, I imagine, because I'm a horror guy, so I just imagine a Leatherface outside your window with the chainsaw.
It's literally just him just swinging the sucker around, yeah.
I'm just jealous you have a lawn. Sounds nice.
Oh, I mean, sorry. My landlord has a lawn, and I rent a unit upon it.
It's not the Starr Estates.
No. And it is full of dead trees that are falling apart onto people's cars. It's a really great setup. I live in Halloween Town. Let's do this, boys. According Ryan, I hate you. Ryan's headline for this story: can you feel the Lovecraft country tonight?
Boo.
No, I'm yay.
That was a hat on
I think that's art.
That's double puns. No place for that here.
There's no place for double puns in this place. This is via Deadline.
Triple pun it.
So, Jonathan Majors, who is one of the stars of Lovecraft Country, he was one of the stars of Da 5 Bloods, and he was in The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Fantastic in all three. He's been tapped for what do you do when you're a newly discovered, critically acclaimed actor? You sign on to the MCU. So he's been tapped for one of the...
You get a Marvel.
Yeah, you get a Marvel. You get a Marvel, and you get a Marvel. He's been tapped for one of the lead roles in the next Ant-Man movie, opposite, of course, Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly. The studio has no official comment on this, but sources are saying that he is likely to play supervillain Kang the Conqueror. So there's a lot of speculation attached to this character because he is, connected to the Fantastic Four. He's connected to the X-Men. He's connected to the Young Avengers. Of course, Ant-Man's daughter is a Young Avenger, and a lot of them are popping up in different shows. So could this be like a backdoor pilot for their movie? I think the best place to start for some of us lightweights is, what's a Kang? Hey, Eric Goldman. What's a Kang?
A Kang is a guy who was born, I think, like thousands of years, but certainly centuries away from us in the future in a time of peace and prosperity. But guess what? He was bored by that. He read up on history, looked and said, I think it sounds great when they were fighting, when there was warring going on. And so he turns himself into a time-traveling warlord who goes back in time to find that violence that he doesn't get in his present.
I hate 2020 nostalgia.
Yeah.
Right?
He sounds like the protagonist of like a late 90s drama, like an American Beauty Kevin Spacey character. I hate him.
Well, he's a bad guy, so you should. And again, I could go way into the weeds on this, guys, just to say he's a time traveler,
weeds.
but he has multiple identities. This is where it gets crazy, is that there's Kang the Conqueror, which is kind of his main prime identity. But there's also Ramu Tut, the Egyptian pharaoh, who's also him. There's also Immortus, who is also him. There's also the Scarlet Centurion, who's also him. He opens the door to even more. I know they've already opened this door, but to the multiverse, time travel, the same version of a character at different times of their lives. He is like a very convoluted character that I love because I grew up reading all about him and I thought it was so fun. But yes, he also will talk a little bit more how he connects to a lot of Marvel and a lot of stuff they haven't introduced yet into the MCU that he seems like this could be a pivot point to really get there.
Well, let's talk about this way, because with every Marvel villain, I feel like there's a potential to be, this guy could be an anchor of the MCU moving forward, or they can be a Ronan the Accuser.
Right.
Or a Dark Elf. So let's assume that Kang the Conqueror isn't, like a one-off. He gets beat up by Ant-Man, and a few quips later they roll credits. And let's assume, hey, they are actually going to start building with this very talented actor and this very interesting, time-spanning character. In terms of like tea leaves, what do you think this sort of starts to set up for the MCU?
So, first, I should say, I don't think he'll be a one-off just because if you look at, like, Avengers history, I feel like most people name him, like, a top 5 Avengers villain. He just seems too big, and I think Feige knows better than to be like, he's just a fun villain for... I love the cat tapping you, like, hey, I've got some Kang in here. So
have you talked about Young Avengers Children's Crusade yet?
Right.
About Children's Crusade?
One way or the other, I think he names towards it, because, like, I think we've talked about this, but there's no way there's not going to be another movie with Avengers in its title, right? One day. I don't think they're going to rush into it. And I don't know if it'll be Avengers 5 per se, because it could have a Young in front of it. It could have a lot of different things. But I do think he aims towards the future of an Avengers connected movie because he's such a big deal. And because, yes, if they want to go the Young Avengers route, there's a big... And it's always funny with spoilers on things from comics that are now years, if not decades old, to be like, how much do I want to say? So I won't say the specifics. But he definitely ties to Young Avengers in a major way. And
I'm sorry, we can give like a heads up, like if you don't want to know the comic story, but let's wave our hands and say we are going to give some light spoilers for decades old comics, so you can speak freely.
With Young Avengers, I don't think I have to get too specific, but yeah. So I think that's almost a gimme. And then I really do think, as we keep wondering how they're going to involve the Fantastic Four, he has such big, interesting connections there. Here's where I'll give decades old. He is either, if you go by two versions, because mysterious, he might be the descendant of Nathaniel Richards, Mr. Fantastic's father, or he might be Doctor Doom's descendant. So either way, that's a big way to connect to that whole universe, and where they want to go with that. So yeah, he brings a lot to the table, which is why I can't believe he's a one-off character. That it just seems like they have a lot of ideas probably for where they want to go by bringing him in.
Does he? And I apologize. The Doof Warrior just started up his war rig right outside.
Sure.
Does it feel weird? I don't know. Is this a good fit for an Ant-Man movie? Traditionally, the Ant-Man movies have just sort of been these kind of fun and light and a little wacky. But Kang sort of seems like this very big deal, like prestige villain. Is that an odd fit, or does that mean they're sort of like pivoting the importance, I guess, of the Ant-Man movies a little bit?
I don't want to be the only one answering here, so I'm going to say my quick answer, and then Spencer, you say what you think, which is, it does. I remember there was a recent quote from Peyton Reed that they were going to kind of go in a different direction, and this will feel different from the other Ant-Man movies. This certainly seems to indicate that they, story-wise, are going to go much bigger, no pun intended, and that's interesting to note from the series that it's been kind of the fun. They're just having fun over here. Spencer, what do you think about making Ant-Man maybe more of a focal point of things going forward?
I'm happy with it being more of a focal point. I hope they don't switch up the tone too much, because I think they have like a really great comedic chemistry between Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, and Peyton Reed behind the camera. So I hope it still maintains the fun and the flavor of it, because to me that is the most distilled. That's Marvel at its best to me. I know it's a controversial statement, but these movies are supposed to be fun and silly, or to me they work their best when they are. But if they give it more importance in like the 26 movie long meta structure, it also makes sense, because I remember the last Ant-Man movie, they just said quantum 7 million times at the screen to justify everything. So if you need to justify time travel, multiple versions of another character, whatever, you get the quantum experts, and that is Michael Douglas just going the quantum realm, the quantum realm, and then boom, you get whatever you want.
And I think you're right too. I think if they are sort of beefing up Ant-Man and Scott Lang to be a little more of a power franchise in the series, I love the idea of Ant-Man trying to be a mentor to his daughter and the new Hawkeye, Patriot, if they're going to introduce him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I like Ant-Man being a very incapable version of the Iron Man Spider-Man dynamic. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, and it's a good point, because this carries on the long Marvel movie tradition of the villain just being like a mirror image of the hero's powers and outlook, because this is a guy who, I assume, Eric, doesn't have superpowers. He's just a genius. He builds suits for himself. He builds time machines for himself. He's just a man. Or is he an alien? Unclear. He has a blue face, so I'm thinking
Earth,
Marvel alien.
Our future. He's the future. Yeah, he's
in the future. Okay. All men have blue faces.
we all turn Blue Man Group.
It's supposed to be armor, which is, again, they did this one comic in the 60s where Doctor Doom met a version of Kang and they're like, oh, this technology, it almost seems like your technology is mine centuries later. And that was the one little, maybe they're connected, and that's Kang's
What a
armor.
douchey thing to say. Your high-tech future tech looks like something I came up with.
Well, Doom is pretty narcissistic.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely he seems like a good foil for an Ant-Man. And yeah, that's a good point. I do like in the absence of Tony Stark and Spider-Man, who knows who owns Spider-Man these days is investing more in Ant-Man as more of a team leader and growing more important. Put more Paul Rudd on screen. That's never a bad thing.
Yeah. No, not at all. Let's see, what are they saying about this in chat? Prince Poo-Poo. Hello, Prince. Good morning, my prince. There's something delightfully cozy about the Ant-Man movies. Sure, they're kind of middle of the road, but the characters are super endearing. We like our Ant-Man here. This is a pro Ant-Man house.
Yeah. I did, because I really liked the first Ant-Man, and I enjoyed the second one, even though it did have kind of a samey feel more than some of the other, like, Ragnarok and Winter Soldier sequels that were like, oh, they're really going to somewhere different. Mm-hmm. Ant-Man and the Wasp was like, oh, more of the stuff you like. So it does, just Kang's inclusion here does seem to indicate, oh, we're going to go do something different this time. Which again, I think what you guys are saying I agree with. If they don't lose that core of the things we really like about these movies, it could be cool to kind of build upon that.
I'm excited to see a time-traveling T.I. I think that's something that
now. Yeah.
That's now a possibility.
It certainly is on the table.
Gianna Carson says, I don't know why, but I find the Thor 2 villain so funny.
I need to rewatch Thor 2. It's been so long.
Dark World. The stuff I remember most about Dark World is all the teleporting in the third act, which I thought was fun.
And cool.
I love that final fight. It's a really creative fight at the end of a movie that's kind of forgettable.
Yeah. I do like the idea. Yeah, I want to rewatch for comedic potential from him. Because, I do feel like the idea of, like, a very stoic dark elf is pretty, like, that's completely not self-aware at all, is pretty good. But they have introduced some cool characters in Ant-Man so that they can continue to build on. Roblinson88 mentioned Ghost is a great character. She really liked the actress as well. I honestly, did Ghost live? I don't remember.
Yeah, no, she was pretty much redeemed and alive, and her and Lawrence Fishburne were hanging out. And in fact, when he went at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp and got lost in the quantum realm, he was going to get quantum realm energy drink to help Ghost. Yep. Remember? That's right. Because it helped her. Yeah.
That's right. Any other thoughts, you guys? On Jonathan Majors, I feel like this is my big hope, at least. I don't have any insight or anything, but my big hope is he's a great actor. I think he does so much with so little. I honestly think a role like Kang is a great fit for him, just because he's very still, if that makes sense. Very still, very stoic. And does a lot with that choice, and so I think he's a great actor to jump in. He's a younger guy, so I think they could be working with him for a long time to come. I think it's a great choice. What do you guys think?
He is a great actor, but he wouldn't be the first great actor to be brought low by casting as a Marvel villain, where they just hope that the charisma and the talent will pull through a very crummy role, and yet. This is our third Ant-Man, so hopefully we all get who Ant-Man is. We know the Wasp. We know the Squad. We can spend more time in a third movie developing a villain, and that he'll get his due. Because, Last Black Man in San Francisco is fantastic. Five Bloods is fantastic. Mm-hmm. I hear Lovecraft Country is very good.
Yeah, it is very good. You should watch it. I really like him as an actor, and I think this is great casting. And I do feel optimistic that not only, I think if they heard a lot, obviously, the villain complaints they had in the past, but I also feel like they're probably making the right move as they go into phase 4, which is to not rush. They can't outdo Infinity War Endgame anytime soon. So I think they're going to do a very slow burn towards a mega event. But this does feel like this could lay the groundwork for that, but they don't have to run it. It still could be years away. So it just feels like, oh, this is cool because he opens the door to so many things. By the way, I feel like I have to explain for people who go, X-Men, how does he connect to X-Men? When he went back in time as a pharaoh, it involved Apocalypse, because Apocalypse was back then too. So again, they could, as we were saying, they could pilot so much with him. In little ways. It could be a one-off mention here and there, but I think it sounds like a smart approach, and it's certainly a great actor, so I'm pretty optimistic about having him do this.
He could go back and rescue the performance of another talented actor who they put in blueface and ruined a role, a villain in Oscar Isaac, who all I remember from X-Men Apocalypse is him going, learning, while he watches TV.
It was so depressing. I'm going to quick do our call out while the machines are quiet. Hey, thank you guys for watching. Learning to hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're doing another Fandom 5 this week. It's this Friday, September 18th. There's a link in the description. It's going to be on Disney, that pure Disney stuff, straight into your veins, your Aladdins, your Beauty and the Beast, your animation renaissance. So if you are a mousehead, be there. You win money for answering 5 questions correctly. It's a lot of fun. We have a good time. Please come check it out. Now then, gents, let's speculate wildly about one sentence that was said at the DC Fandom, shall we?
That's our job, damn it.
Yes, that's our thing.
And dang it, we'll do it. So not a lot of news on day 2 of the Fandom. This is where I apologize. I don't want to insult people. There's a lot of comic news and some CW stuff.
Doom Patrol got renewed.
Doom Patrol got renewed, which is great news. Still waiting on word on Harley Quinn. Apparently, they're like, well, it depends on what the streaming budget is for HBO Max on Harley Quinn. But one of the big sentences we sort of glommed onto when it was said was the producer of The Flash was talking about how it's going to affect the DC universe. And she said, well, I want you to see it, so I'm not going to tell you a lot. And then she went on to tell you a lot. She said, but what I will tell you is that it's a ride. It's going to be fun and it's exciting. There are a lot of DC characters in it. Flash is going to bridge all of these different characters and timelines. And in a way, it restarts everything and doesn't forget anything.
Wow.
Setting the bar very high for this Flash movie. And that makes me think it sounds insane. But the big thing to me, though, is the reset of everything. Because we've talked a lot about DC sort of finding their groove with just doing movies and not worrying about having some overarching continuity. So does something like this kind of worry you? Or are you kind of like, no? Or are you like, yay?
It's all in how they handle it, right? First of all, it sounds like a big movie. It almost sounds like... this is not me saying they should make it 2 movies, but I also am like, I hope that they don't feel cramming a lot into this one film. Because I think that, and I think most of us are on the same page here that, DC has leaned into their strength after things kind of fizzled out with the theatrical cut of Justice League. And they were like, okay, let's really concentrate on just these standalone movies. And they're all kind of having their own fun vibe. And yes, we know that Wonder Woman, Shazam, and Birds of Prey are technically interconnected, but the movies don't have to lean into that. They're just doing their own thing. And I think that's worked really well for them. At the same time, I think that this, to me, seems like they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to do that, but they also want to be like, don't worry, guys, we haven't forgotten everything. And it's really going to be a delicate balancing act that I hope this movie can pull off to do that, to be like, we're going to acknowledge this bigger connected universe, and even bigger if they're doing this multiverse thing with all these other characters, it sounds like. So I just hope they can do that and yet not get lost in the weeds of too much at once happen.
Benny?
Yeah, it's tricky because I think that a lot of their best work has taken place outside of a timeline or with very little interconnectedness. Like, I loved Aquaman. It didn't really have much to do with the rest of the Justice League. And, I love them. That Joker stuff had nothing to do with the rest of it. And it sounds like the Batman is going to take place in some sort of past or alternate version of Gotham. So, I mean, if it helps you get through the day to know that the Flash ran so fast that these things are all connected again, great. But I don't think that it needs to be the case for them to keep making good movies. Like, they're doing great. The Wonder Woman, fantastic. Aquaman, fantastic. Like, you don't need to have them all butt their heads in or form some sort of league for DC to have learned their lesson and to keep making great movies moving forward. What happened to also just like recasting someone? Like, you can just, if somebody's not around anymore, like we bought it with Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle. Like, you can have a different actor play a part. We won't. You can make a little wink towards it. You don't need to justify it with science and the Speed Force and stuff like that. But that's just me. That's just my preference. I think just focus on making good movies as they've been doing. Timeline be damned. And but there's also a way to fix the timeline and still just keep everything relatively separate. I don't think they're going to be building towards more giant team-up movies anymore. I just don't think that. I think they've been burned too badly by that.
Well, I think even from a business sense, the Joker made $1 billion. Like, Aquaman made
also $1 billion.
Also $1 billion. Like, from a business sense, I feel like unless someone at Warner is just really horned up to do this, and it's just become a weird. Heart of Darkness, like they're sitting in the studio and can't be stopped, like, because they just got to have their Justice League and their connected universe. I don't see a need necessarily. I'm totally down for a big, fun, ridiculous Flashpoint romp. Throw in some deleted scenes that no one's ever seen before from the salt mines and of a Christopher Reeve Superman. Throw them in and do a 4K filter on them, whatever. I don't know.
I want to see Michael Keaton fight Jared Leto.
Yeah. Oh my God. You want to get damaged? Damn it.
Oh no, I want him to say that line really badly now.
Oh, that blew my mind. Yeah, I'm completely down for just a huge 3-ring circus of a Flash movie, but I also don't need it to like fix things or connect a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's just not necessary to me.
You can fix things in the sense of like, oh, you ran so fast, you scrambled the timeline. What a coincidence! The only properties who survived were the successful ones with the actors we have under contract. Like,
right, yeah,
good job, Flash.
Yeah, I mean, I think, will it be just sort of what the TV shows have already done, which is acknowledging this multiverse and these other versions of the characters, and maybe when you come out of it, I think the best case scenario is basically what I think about comic books used to do, because now when you have comic book characters crossover, it's got to be eventize and 6 issues and all this stuff. But it used to be much more casual, right? It's like Human Torch could show up and help Spider-Man for one fight and then leave. And maybe if they got to that place, right, where it could just be like, oh yeah, like Margot Robbie and Gal Gadot can team up and it'll be cool, but it doesn't need to be like, this is the event we've been building for 5 movies towards. Mm-hmm. So I hope that this movie, maybe the reset is more just like, yeah, we're going to keep having fun with this. And maybe we'll mix up some of these characters again in the future, but without the onus of like, it's building towards something. Because that is where I think you can get tripped up. And you will always feel like you're following in Marvel's footsteps, for better or for worse, even if you did a really good job of it. So just do your own thing. That's not to say never have team-ups. You can still have team-ups.
Yeah. Atchid says DC doesn't trust the Flash movie to make enough money, so they're filling it with Batmans. Yeah. Probably. I don't look like the CW Flash does great. But I think, that's the smart move, right? If you need a slightly more established character to make a slightly less established character a bit of a sure thing, yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
There's something very funny about the just add Batman thing. One of my favorite pieces of news from DC Fandom this weekend was that in Pennyworth season 2, Martha Wayne is pregnant. Yes. So it's like, guess what? Bruce Wayne's in there. I mean, he's literally in there. He's in her stomach, but he's in there. And so it's just like, now it's like, I was just imagining like the commercials, like Batman really begins. Like, and it's like, it's almost the cliche of like, how much origin can we get?
Batman concepts.
But obviously Batman sells, man. So we can get embryo Batman and we can get Keaton Batman. There's a lot of Batman.
Elijah Thomas Jackson asks, what are the odds we get a new Batman by the end of this movie with Affleck being aware he's going to be erased? I guess it all depends on what they're doing. If if we're gonna end this with Pattinson going, "I'm the one true Bat," or whatever,
I can see them. There's no way they've cast a Batman because there's. I would guess that they haven't cast a Batman yet that they have to replace Affleck because I assume that Pattinson's off in his own multiverse, but. Yeah.
Unless
I could see them doing a tease like, a Batarang, hits a wall at the end and it's like, you? I can totally see them laying the groundwork for a new one if they are rebooting a shared universe.
The one thing that I absolutely want is for all of these Bruce Waynes to look at each other and go, why are we all so insanely different looking? Like that's... Just want some acknowledgement. I just think it'd be like in the comics you can play with this stuff all you want, and it's like there's 3 identical Bruce Waynes, but one has a mustache and the other one is covered in prison tats. But they're all Bruce Wayne. But I like the idea.
Infinite universe, Joe. You can have an infinite number of Bruces.
Infinite universe, yeah. Infinite looks of Bruces. You know what? That's right. That's fair.
I feel like the end of this movie, when it comes to Batman specifically, I do think one way or the other we'll see Pattinson in this movie, and it could be he films a scene, or it could be some sort of weird, show a clip from the Batman in a weird computer screen way, because I feel like they won't replace Affleck in that universe. Either they'll do the way that DC CW solved it, which is everything got remixed and now this is a new reality and Pattinson Batman is there. But more likely, I feel like it'll be a symbolic passing of the torch, which is Affleck's Bruce Wayne at the end is like, I'm going to go take some time for me. But don't worry, there'll always be a Batman out there. And maybe you get a look at Earth Pattinson and there's, our Pats out there.
I'm going to go live some of that life you've been talking about. And it's just him slow dancing with Alfred.
It's him slow dancing with all the different Alfreds from all the different TV series and movies we have right now.
And then they reveal the ultrasound from Pennyworth.
It's a girl. Dun, dun, dun.
The ultrasound has the bat ears on it.
Yeah. Zeno Hour says, nah, we're definitely getting another Justice League movie.
Maybe someday. One day. But I do think, again, they won't do the, again, it's funny. On one hand, people will say they rushed it, right? Because they didn't give standalone movies to everyone. But on the other hand, they tried to still lean heavily into Batman versus Superman, doing the weird dream sequence and stuff. Here's where we're going. I think maybe because this Flash movie, again, the double-edged sword is I think it sounds really cool and fun. It's also a lot to cram into one movie, but they could pull it off. And if they do it successfully, maybe you can pull off another Justice League movie that's just here's a Justice League adventure. Here's them getting back together to do this fight. And it doesn't have to be setting up 10 more things down the line.
One last job.
Right.
One last job. Hey, you guys want to answer some questions from the audience?
If they have them, yeah, shoot.
Let's do it. This one is about Stranger Things. This is from Benziton. He says, by the way, are the Stranger Things children still children? How much longer can they play children?
They will be forever preserved in on film, right? Because didn't they shoot 3 and 4 back to back, or was it 2 and 3 back to back?
No, they were about to go into 4 when the COVID hit. So yeah, or maybe they just started. But yeah,
4 is written but not shot.
Okay,
or they're starting to shoot it, but it's somewhere in that area.
There you go. Puberty comes at you fast. So even if they are, children in the eyes of the law, I think that we probably missed our window to have them look adorable on bicycles.
Yep. Yeah.
It's an issue that a lot of these things are. Zachary Levi had that quote recently about how they're supposed to start filming Shazam early next year, and he's like, we got to, we have this kid. The entire idea of a kid becomes this superhero is going to become null and void once it's a man in his mid-20s becomes a man in his 40. It becomes
the dream.
The director teased that the title was going to be now the kids have facial hair. Now the kids are shaving, something like that. Eric Z asks, hey, Eric. Oh, this is for you. This is from an Eric to an Eric.
Multiverse, okay.
What do you think it means when Zach says he isn't using any of the Whedon footage from Justice League?
Just literally that, because we've seen other cases. I think Solo is a good example, because Solo, from what we heard, Ron Howard reshot 80% of the movie. So there are little pieces of stuff that Lord and Miller filmed there, connective tissue, things I think they probably felt that's not important enough to reshoot, because it's just it's Lando running, and we can use the Lando running, but it sounds like and obviously we have the very strange case of the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, where because there was no way to come back and reshoot stuff, he did use a couple pieces Richard Lester shot, even though I know it pained him to, because he's like, oh, that's just all we have. But it just sounds like Snyder is just being unequivocally, this is what I shot, and it sounds like they might do a little bit of little footage, or at least VO, so just nothing Whedon shot, even if it's not that important, even if it didn't need to be there, even if, like I said, even if it's Barry Allen opens a door, he's like, nope, Whedon shot that. That is be my shot of Barry Allen opening a door.
Yeah, that's not how I envisioned Barry entering rooms. Right on.
And yet, though, the Whedon cut includes plenty of things that Zach shot, right?
Yes, yeah. The Whedon cut is, again, I think we'll never know the answer, or maybe one day we will. Was it 50% he reshot? Was it 30 reshot? And again, you can see in that movie, one of the weird things about, I think, watching the movie is telling the fact that these were shot months apart because people's like body has changed and stuff. And so there's definitely a disconnect there. But there's a lot of Zack Snyder in that theatrical cut versus I mean, again, we always have these weird cases, like here's Back to the Future has that funny thing where there's one shot you can see Eric Stoltz in, right? Like when he and Biff get into it, it's like, oh, that's over the shoulder of Stoltz. So just sounds like Snyder's like, I will not have an Eric Stoltz shoulder in my version. That's just nothing.
Absolutely not.
Stoltz free.
Panther asks, what's your favorite action figure that you own or have ever? I'm going to add have you ever owned? Because I don't know how many action figures Spencer necessarily has lined up in the house right now. So favorite.
That was yours, Eric?
No. I just happened to have Michael Myers next to me, so he decided to buy.
He holds him. He's like a monkey's paw for Eric.
Yes.
Puts him in his pocket and just like rubs his head for luck.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge action figure guy. I mean, I had my Ninja Turtles. I was a big Lego fan. I think the coolest one I had was, you remember Exo Squad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some Exo Squad guys, and like, look, I know it's not the biggest thrill for action figure collectibles, but I like that they shot a lot of things out of their bodies. I thought it was cool how many they had the Gatling guns and the shoulder missiles, and like that was half the fun, was building something loosely out of Legos and knocking it down with the Exo Squad was the most heroic playtime I ever had.
God, that's I have too many toys. I'm looking around at too many toys in this very room. But I was asked this question recently, and one I gave as a top 5 is because I have a few Hot Toys figures, but the Superman Christopher Reeve one, which was the first one I got, just because it was like, oh my God, this looks so perfect. This is an amazing recreation of this childhood character for me. So that was pretty cool. And then I just on a pure action figure level, I'll say Destro from G.I. Joe, because he's a cool design, and I like that he's got a disco collar going.
Iron Grenadier or OG Destro. Gold or silver, buddy?
Oh, I gotta go silver.
Fair. G.I. Joes were like a big thing, and they played us for suckers so many times when it was just like, hey, here's the exact same tank, but this time it's called the Python Patrol, and it's painted different, and you just be like, oh my God. I think my favorite toy was I had this really sweet Batmobile from the Adam West Batman series. And it was really cool. It had like a battering ram up front. You like pushed a button and like the bumper like popped out, and then the back had a little like bad guy grabber. It was really cool. And the best part about it was we just found it on the ground at a Toys R Us once. We were there shopping for something else, and I was like, "This is awesome!" And so we picked it up, and we were like, "Is there one of these that's in a box that we can buy?" And a guy was like, "We don't sell those, sir. You can have it, I guess." I just had this like sweet Batmobile that nobody else like in my neighborhood had. So that was like my one little claim to fame that no one else cared about.
And then Batman came from around the corner and gave you a thumbs up.
Yep. An embryo winked at me.
You reminded me of a weird thing. When I went to college, there was this guy in my college class who he claimed his dad took you know how the original Kenner Star Wars vehicles, the 70s and 80s ones, just had photos of kids playing with like the Millennium Falcon. Yeah. There's like a picture, and he's like, "Oh, my dad took those photos," which is the most like what was he telling the truth? It's a weird thing to make up, but it also seems like very unverifiable. So it's like, was he telling the truth? Was that his amazing photography on there? I'll never know.
Kid toy lies, man. I never knew a kid. I've never trusted or believed anyone who said they had a G.I. Joe aircraft carrier, because no one had it. No one had it. No one.
I never saw one in person.
Everyone was always like, oh, it's at my grandparents' house, and my grandparents are in Niagara Falls, and they live across the street from my model girlfriend. But, like, no one, I don't believe that anyone ever had it.
Well, my uncle works at Nintendo, and he says the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier is going to be the next character in Smash Brothers. So.
Oh, that would actually be amazing.
Oh my god! Game & Watch versus the USS Flag. Oh my god, it's going to be amazing.
All right, let me get this back on track with a slightly more serious question. Rob Turner asks, would you rather fight a bear-sized monkey or a monkey-sized bear?
Bear-sized monkey.
A monkey-sized bear, because it'll be cute. You've seen the little cubs; they're adorable. I just want to pet them.
Yeah, monkey-sized bear. A bear-sized monkey. Wow. I mean, some monkeys are friendly, some are not. So I'll take my chances with the bear-sized monkey and hope that it knows enough sign language for.
That was my thought too. Is maybe I can sign my way out of this, or like give it food or interest it in a simple tool.
Yeah.
Make my escape.
I like your chances.
Yeah, monkey-sized bear. Yeah, no, I've seen The Revenant. What if the Revenant scene, instead of that one big bear, had been multiple small bears?
What if it was multiple small bears that combined, like Transformers? It was a combiner.
Oh no!
It became a giant.
A very different movie, but one that I like more. I think it's a Bearzord. Bearzord means something different in West Hollywood, where we live. Hey!
Shout out to John Bainbridge in the chat, who points out correctly that a bear-sized monkey is just a gorilla, and it already exists. So that is a fair point, I think.
Well, a monkey's not necessarily a gorilla.
Yeah, those are apes. Different. Yeah,
I retract.
Bainbridge. Let's close out on this one. This is
Give
fun.
me your zoology badge and your trank gun, Bainbridge. You're off the force.
You've got 48 hours. Devil Kazuya 27 asks, what is the best Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Let's chat about this and we'll close out on this.
Pumping Iron.
It's a great, yeah, just honestly.
I mean, if it's just the most Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, if you want to understand the man, Pumping Iron is a fantastic documentary. It's so many horrific quotes that I can't repeat here. But that's the one that I think I need to rewatch the most. Although there probably are better movies, this one will really take you inside the soul of Arnold.
Yep. And you should also listen to or watch the actual workout, the guided workout by Arnold. It's great because it's like he tries to keep on rhythm with this cool beat that's going, and he's just like, okay, now we're going to warm up and stretch up a body. It's pretty great.
I gotta go. Terminator 2. Just he's in a lot of great movies, a lot of fun movies, but Terminator 2 is just it's such a great sequel, such a great movie, and I think it's like a movie that Hollywood is still chasing to this day, as far as everything it brought to the table and how many cool elements it has and great characters and the pace of it and the obviously the spectacle of it. So even though there's a part of me that's always like, oh, they just made him a good guy, I still love me some Terminator.
Yeah, it still works though. Yeah. I mean, on my initial sorry.
What does she think? What's her favorite? Oh,
she's telling me to just
Red Heat. Red Heat is a crazy choice, but what?
Eraser? Weird.
My cat's like 6 day. 6 day.
6 day.
I mean, it's Kindergarten Cop. I think it's a weird choice because with Terminator 2, it's like, oh well, they're just turning it around and making him funny. Just kind of like, oh well, Terminator 2 is kind of a cheat because it makes him a good guy, but it works, because I wanted to say Conan the Barbarian because I just like that movie.
Fantastic.
And he's dope in it. But it's probably Kindergarten Cop for me.
Okay, nothing.
Yeah.
Hey, go for
my
it.
second choice would be the commentary track for Total Recall, where he just describes what's happening in the movie as it's happening.
Any of them. All of his commentary tracks are like that. The Conan the Barbarian one's like that. Where he's just like, yeah, now she appears and I'm clearly in love with her because she's very pretty.
Ooh,
I hate that guy really good.
Yeah. I never approached the movie with that. That's interesting.
Yeah. What a takeaway. I think that's a great takeaway, though. If you guys haven't watched commentary tracks that feature Arnold, that's your homework assignment. It's completely worth your time. They somehow don't. They're nothing and everything all at the same time. They're great. Make sure you check those out. Spencer, Eric, thanks for hanging out with me on this fine Monday.
Any day.
Hey.
And if you want to talk Kang anytime, Kang Talk.
Yeah.
Talking Kang.
Eric up on Twitter for some Kang Talk. Fandom 5 on Friday. Let us know your Kang thoughts and let us know what do you think? What's the best Arnold movie? What's been your favorite toy your whole life? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you tomorrow for a little Honest Trailer Commentaries. Bye, guys.